Hello, dear students. This is Natalia. Welcome to session 9. Can you hear me? All right. Good. Are you guys having fun with playing with APK file on Android? Anybody? Some feedback I would like to hear. Please write it down. And we had some problems in here a little bit. Guys, you have to understand that the iPhone, okay, it's only fun when it works. Well, Sonia, you can make it work, I'm pretty sure. You guys are very talented and very enthusiastic. So I was able to install a different APK on real and virtual device, but could not install it. I was able to install on a different, but could not install it. You mean the my APK? Maybe it's not device compatible. Oh, different one. Well, as long as, guys, you have to understand, you can grab these APK files from Google, okay, but be careful. Because this file that I gave you, it's clean. Okay, so the APKs that you might find and install might not be secure. So just make sure you run your security program before installing it, that it's not the malicious software that you're installing that looks like the legit APK. I mean, it is APK, it is an application, but you have to make sure what you're installing. But there are plenty of them on the Google, and also there is a program, APK extractor. So basically you can grab any application and extract this APK. Whatever you want to, that was just for your use as an exercise. So, and use the ADB table and play around with that. All right, guys, any other questions? If you have, just type it and I will read it later. And we are back to our security testing, and let's just go through the industry standards after one slide, and I will tell you where these security standards are coming from. So basically, our next slide is that we are having risks at every layer of the mobile device. So for example, like in a network, it could be the interception of data over the air. So and you have to understand that the mobile Wi-Fi has all the same problems as laptops. And also the GSM technology has shown some cracks. So then we have the hardware layer, and it's usually, we call it like a baseband layer attacks. It's where the memory corruption defects in firmware used to root your device. Then of course it's OS layer, and we are having the defects in kernel code, and the kernel is the communication channel between the hardware and OS. So it could be in there or vendor supplied system code, and usually what's causing it, it's in an iPhone jailbreaking when you're using the tools, or Android when it's rooted. And these are the reasons that these defects are shown. Also, the applications with vulnerabilities and malicious code have access to your data and device sensor, and this is what I was just talking to you about, these APKs that you might want to download from the internet and install it. So be very careful, and this slide is kind of shows you the risk you are exposing your phone to. But every vibrant technology marketplace needs kind of an unbiased source of information on best practices, and there is a group, we call it Open Web Application Security Project, that is responsible for this security standards. So OWASP operates as a non-profit, and it's not affiliated with any technology company, which means it is a unique position to provide the impartial and practical information about the application's security to everybody, like from individuals and corporations and universities and government agencies and some other organizations. So, and methodologies and technologies that they make, it's available free of charge to the public. And OWASP maintains roughly 100 local chapters and counts of thousands of members. So it's not only here in the United States, it's all over the world. And OWASP, they started in 2001 and has operated since 2003, and later became like a charitable organization. And nobody gets money. Its leadership is completely volunteer, consists of volunteers, and they make decisions about the technical directions, project priorities, and releases. So these are kind of the abbreviations that you guys have to know, that this OWASP is working with. What is MITRE? MITRE is a non-for-profit company that operates multiple federally funded research and development centers. So what they do, they provide innovative and practical solutions for most of the nation's most critical challenges in defense and intelligence, also in aviation and civil system, homeland security. So it is a government-operated agency. Then the next abbreviation is the PCIDSS, and if you're entering also the mobile application testing industry, you have to know what it means. So it means the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards. So what it is, it's a proprietary information security standards for organizations that handle branded credit cards, like Visa and MasterCard and American Express and Discover. Then we have the Defense Information System Agency, and it's obviously, they provide the information technology and communication support to the President and Vice President and Secretary of Defense, so all these military services. And FTC, it's a Federal Trade Commission, and its principal mission is the promotion of consumer protection. So when you start talking about the OWASP, all this kind of information have to come to your mind. So basically, guys, this OWASP top 10 document that they are releasing, it contains the most crucial malicious functionality and vulnerabilities. So why mobile apps need their own list is because the modern mobile application run on the devices that have the functionality of a laptop running a general purpose operating system. And but At the same time, mobile devices are not just small computers, and so risk can be maliciously designed and designed to educate developers and security professionals about the mobile application behavior that puts users at risk. So this top 10. And top 10 also determine the coverage of a mobile security solution, like development of an application and acceptance testing and application store vetting process and security software running on the mobile devices. So on your screen, you can see that it's pretty much activity monitoring and data retrieval, unauthorized dialing, SMS and payments, unauthorized network connectivity, UI impersonalization. So all this, malicious functionality and vulnerabilities. And let's just a little bit divide and get the terms for those two categories. So as you can see, there are two main categories and of mobile code security risks. First is the malicious functionality, and this category of malicious functionality is a list of unwanted and dangerous mobile code behaviors that are stealthily placed, like for example in a Trojan app that user is tricked into the installing. So users think they're installing a game or utility and instead gets hidden spyware or phishing UI or unauthorized premium dialing. And the second one is the vulnerabilities, and this category of mobile security vulnerabilities are errors in design and implementation that expose the mobile device data to interception and retrieval by the attackers. So, and mobile code security vulnerabilities can also expose the mobile device or the cloud application used from the device to unauthorized access. So we are going to go through each category, and believe it or not, but today, guys, I noticed that the release candidate for 2017 was released about a month and a half ago. I did not receive the update for some reason, because I'm always receiving updates for all this information that I am using with you and in the class. So on my slides I have the previous one, because the release candidate was out in the market. It was the candidate, so I did not update my slides, and today, maybe an hour before our lesson today, so I realized, so I really updated a little bit and got the information for you. But it's gonna be something for you to compare, between the 2016 and 2017, so this is pretty cool too. So first category is activity monitoring and data retrieval risks, and what it is when you're sending each email, when somebody is sending each email to the device to a hidden third-party address and listening in on phone calls or simply opening the microphone recording. So, and store data and contact list or saved email messages retrieved. And on the right side, you can see the examples of interception that your mobile device can get. Then we have unauthorized dialing, SMS, and payments. So basically, the attacker directly monetized a compromised device. Premium rate phone calls, it's maybe not as current because we're pretty much on the unlimited data. We do not have premium phone calls, but we have roaming charges. So, but some parts of the world are still on this risk, so they can have the premium rate phone calls and the premium rate SMS and mobile payments. And also the when somebody is receiving SMS text message with the spreading vector for worms. Then we have number 3, which is unauthorized network connectivity. It's basically the spyware or other malicious functionality typically requires exfiltration to be of the benefit to the attacker. So, and mobile devices are designed for communication, so many potential vectors that a malicious app can use to send the data to the attacker. And on your right side, again, you know, it is the following examples of communication channels that attackers can use exfiltration and command and control such, and you're going to be having a problem, not you, but you know, the users. So then we have the UI impersonalization, and it's very similar to phishing attacks, that impersonating website of their bank or online service. And this is probably the most common mistake that the users can do. Because we are not carefully checking, right, the URL for the where we receive our applications and maybe websites especially. So check all is there. So malicious apps, they can create UI that impersonates that of the phone's native user's interface or the user's interface of the legit application. So what happens, the victim is asked to authenticate and ends up sending their credentials to the attacker. Then we have the system modification risks, and malicious applications will often attempt to modify the system configuration to hide their presence. So, and this is often called rootkit behavior. So configuration changes also makes like certain attacks possible. For example, modifying the device proxy configuration, or setting up email forwarders to shadow copy received messages. Then we have logic or time bomb. It is pretty much a classic backdoor technique that trigger malicious activity based on a specific event or device usage or time. So basically, when somebody is receiving the logic or time bomb, they do not know right away what's going on until it hits. It could be like a month later, it could be a year later. Maybe you know, the previous attacks were listening to the phone conversations, and they know, for example, when the money is going to be wired or something, and this is where it starts working. So basically it's unnoticeable until it's too late. And of course, you know, one of the most security concerns is the sensitive data leakage. It can be either inadvertent or side channel. So illegitimate apps usage of device information and authentication credentials can be poorly implemented by the developers. So, and also it can expose this sensitive data to the third parties. Because if you can see on your screen, you can the attacker can see the location or any ID information like name, number, device ID. By the way, who was showing, I think it was Donnie, was showing the device ID. This is what we are talking about, okay? And then authentication credentials and authorization tokens. And whereas it's data leakage, sensitive data storage, right? So, and it's like banking and payment system PIN numbers and credit card numbers or online service password. So that's why sensitive data should always be stored or encrypted. Then we have, of course, unsafe sensitive data transmission. And it is important that sensitive data is encrypted in transmission so the attackers would not be able to eavesdrop. So, and you have to understand that the mobile devices are especially susceptible because they use wireless communication exclusively. And you guys, go public and you use public Wi-Fi, and it is very insecure. So, software security layer is one of the best ways to secure sensitive data in transit. And of course, poorly, generated password. And when we get into the test environment, we want to save our time. So the developers are implementing password so we can bypass that login page and password with one click. And very often this is what happens. They forget to remove this piece of the hard-coded passwords, and they release an application, and this is where the users or attackers can enter the application without entering the valid credentials. Believe it or not, it's very, very common problem. That's why I am telling you guys, if you start working and you are in a test environment, get out from the test environment and check it in a live environment. And this is where most security problems, this is where it occurs. Also, for the password, it should be a very, very good combination of the upper letters, lower letters, lowercase letters, maybe characters, and the length of the password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not gonna work anymore. Your name is not gonna work anymore because it is easily retractable. So then this is, guys, what I was talking about, that we just I just got this information that 2017 OWASP top 10 is already received. A little bit later I will create the slides just like in 2016, but just to let you know what it is in this 2017 top 10. So right now they are not using M1 or M10 abbreviation. It's A1 to A10. Okay, so just make a notes if you are using these slides. And what is this? So A1, it's gonna be injection. What is injection? Injection flows such as SQL or OS and some other injection occur when untrusted data is sent to the interpreter as the part of a command or query. So what can happen? The attacker's hostile data can trick the interpreter into executing unintended commands or accessing data without proper authorization. A2, we have a broken authentication and session management. If you can see, it's just a little bit, this slide is a little bit off, but I will update it, okay, especially the slide before I post it to your Google Drive. Then we have like A3 is going to be cross-site scripting, and A4 broken access control, and A5 is security misconfiguration, A6 sensitive data exposure, A7 insufficient attack protection, A8 cross-site request forgery, A9 using components with known vulnerabilities, and A10 underprotected APIs. You see how different this is. Basically what you see right now on your screens, that was the release candidate, okay? And I was updating that slide at the beginning of the summer, so this is kind of the scope that they had, and now it is a little bit different, and I promise you to update this slide. So sorry about that. So basically what you have to do if you are on that side, you have to create a checklist and before the security test. So and you have to understand that security team, they are the one who is going to do the security testing, because it's pretty complicated. It's all automation. They have their own tools. So but when it gets to your side, you have to check the following list. Okay, so like a phone identifier such as IMSI or IMA. So what is this IMSI? It's an international mobile subscriber identity, which is a unique number, and it's usually 15 digits, and it is associated with Global System for Mobile Communication, which is GSM. And also the UMTS, which is Universal Mobile Telecommunications System Network. And IMEI, it is an International Mobile Equipment Identity, also is a unique number to identify GSM, and as well as some other satellite phones. So the IMEI is only used for identifying the device and has no permanent or semi-permanent relation to the subscriber. Then of course address book and account details, emails, and so on and so on. This is kind of your checklist before you release the application, and make sure that everything is in order. So as a summary of all our tests that we were going through, this is kind of where we divide the test. What is our part? What is not our part? So pretty much the functional test is our part. It's where validation and functionality are tested, and where you perform the smoke and regression. Offline access testing and a negative testing, right? So non-functional, we cannot do it manually pretty much. So there are some tools that are simulating this environment. Of course, guys, our mobile devices, it's all about interoperability. It's where we are performing the interruption tests. And it's much more in here, right? It's not only notifications and battery and cable removal. There are alarm clocks in there, and updates from the other application, and so on and so on. Again, memory leak, it is part of the security testing. Performance testing, pretty much, again, automation. Usability, this is your part. You have to check it, user experience. This is where we are getting out from the test environment. And this is where we are checking if our application is already checked into the marketplace. We are, going through the honest reviews, because people can leave reviews that are negative, and this is actually where you are getting more and more bugs, and it saves you, negative reviews saves you lots of time finding these bugs. Then we have the language testing. You're all bilingual, trilingual, so this is your part. Always check Security testing, this is, we're gonna leave it for the security team. And of course the application installation, uninstallation, reinstallation, upgrade testing. You see, these are the categories that you guys have to go through. So basically, we are going to, learn also the structure and create the checklist what you guys gonna do with your phones. For example, guys, you do not have the structured environment. It's like in Lamotive, it's structured, right? So we have this 22 test scenarios, and we're pretty much just like a monkey. We're following, we're tapping, we're creating, we're looking, we're finding bugs or not finding bugs. But what happens if you do not have the structured environment? So this is basically how you can start testing. You have an application, right? And you have to divide the page into the components or modules. It depends, the component could be just like one menu, okay, and with variables. The component could be just one functionality. Module or component, it's interchangeable terms. It depends, but it has to be just one item, right, that you're gonna test. So, and every page you just have to create a list, okay, of these components or modules. You have to create a variety of variables because, for example, in a menu you can have, like, for example, address, right, the zip code, the country. This is kind of a variables. Then what you can do, you can specify the expected and leave a place for actual results. And when you are filing a bug, okay, it is kind of, you're giving the developer a very big favor by putting the expected results, because people are busy. How would the developer know or remember? Because they're busy. They want to see the problem. They want to see how it's different from the expected result, without just going to the requirements or the spec and see what it has to do. Got it? So please, always when you're filing bug, just put the actual results and expected results. So for troubleshooting, you can create a list and a table. This is basically your negative test cases where it has to go. And then just create the list for the testing category. So what do you want to do? The functionality, usability, interruption. And this is actually the slide. If you follow this, you're not gonna be lost. So don't be lazy, just memorize it, print it out, because it's gonna be a big help. And especially now when there's so many startups in the industry, they do not have the structured environment. They are constantly in in rush. Nobody is doing this documentation. So this is your responsibility to create this structured environment for future users. So believe it or not, again, this is your responsibility, because the statistics show that 29% immediately is going to just switch to another side of the application if it does not satisfy their need. And with so many competition right now on the market, it's very easy to find a competitor and spend the money in there. So logging is absolutely unacceptable. It drives people crazy, right? And another thing, and I'm one of the 67%, I don't want the item if I have to make too many steps to spend my money on. Okay, so make sure your application is providing a convenient checkout checkout page and checkout information, so the user is willing to spend money on. So and of course, as in any application, GUI testing, it is an inevitable part of the process. And of course, if GUI is not satisfying the needs, if it's confusing or something, user is not gonna use your application. So that's why testing of the GUI should be giving like a maximum considerations. And GUIs is a strong element of user satisfaction, like I said, and nothing is more disgusting than is dysfunctional graphic user's interface. So what is it for the beginners? If you guys don't know what is GUI testing, I have to describe and give you the information if you're just entering this market. So briefly, graphical user interface testing refers to tests done on a graphical interface to evaluate its usability. So it's basically generally covers coloration, navigation, ergonomics, alignment, layout, and instructions. So there are two main ways of testing graphical interfaces, and namely manual and automation. So automation testing has in recent time overtaken manual modes of testing GUI, but you cannot really substitute all this manual tests where you feel and look right, and with the automation, because in there you're not representing. You can do the load test on the GUI, like a menus or something. But for example, in gaming industry, people are doing it by hand, okay, because they are representing users. So let's just talk what we have to do in, for example, navigation. And in navigation, you have to check all menus, menu items, and toolbars for navigation. And if you're using, the little keyboard that you have on your device, you have to also try to do it. So formatting, check that all formatting is proper for date entry, and drop down boxes and items should be nicely sorted in lists and with correct formatting. Then we have a color and fonts. In there you check all colors, font widths, and fonts for display text and field alerts. Then we have scrolls, so all vertical and horizontal bars used in scrolling should only appear where necessary. Then we have controls and alignments, and if your application permits, the window should be resizable, and all controls should function as required, and every display should exhibit correct alignment. And you have to understand, guys, it can be applied to both the mobile applications and web applications. So this is kind of a general information for you to use. Of course, we have the spelling and grammar, and this is where we get more, lots and lots of typos. And remember the social petals, this is just like a typo or orthographical or syntaxis mistake in lots and lots of places. So justification, the numerical fields should be right justified, while character and alphanumeric fields should be left justified. Then, of course, it's your look and feel, and check that all multiple windows have the correct look, and not only windows, screens too, that they have the correct look and feel, and expresses the transition and allows closing or navigation back. This is one of the industry standards which we are going to go through today if we have time. Then we have the default shortcut keys, and also the icons that we are placing on our home screens. Then we have the tabs. If your application using tabs, you have to ensure that the tab order is intact. Opening input, test whether the tapping on the first input is not is doing the correct operation, and some more alternatives like behavior and modality and the contrast and images. With images, it's really complicated because the images are stored in your gallery, and you guys do not trust that the image is there. You actually have to go to the gallery and check if the image is playable, because you might only have, for example, the thumbnail, and this is it. So when you're opening it like in a full screen, it could be the black screen, or if your video maybe it's gonna lose the synchronization with audio. So do not trust, do not assume things when you are testing the applications. Check every time that you are testing something. So that was a graphical user's interface checklist. And also I am going to give you one more checklist. And very often, it happened yesterday. So somebody from the previous group, the guy got a job. Hurrah! I was really happy. Do you know what is the first thing he asked me while he got to work? Guess what? Guess what, guys? He Skyped me and asked me something. Guess what was it? Just take a wild guess. So the guy just started how to test mobile app, how I checklist of you're very close. Okay, I'll like you're very close. Okay. Checklist, pretty close. Yeah, what else? Process. Okay. What do you think you're gonna ask me? Yes, Sanya. What to test first on the mobile? Yes, exactly. Where do I start? Yes, Katinka. Yes, absolutely. Could you please send me some use test cases, okay? Because I'm trying to create them, and I'm not doing really well. So poor guy, he's frustrated. So that's why, whatever I had, and I'm going to post it on your Google Drive as well, guys. I'm going to put the complete checklist, okay? Can you hear me, okay? Checklist to create test cases. Type 1 if you can hear me, because, the guy already had it. He just never ever opened it in his life, because if he would open it, he wouldn't be frustrated and, Skyping me to get this, because he had no idea it was even there right in front of him. Okay, so everything I post, you guys use in the future. And here, okay, the top considerations, and I'm going to put the note to upload complete checklist. So I'm doing it in front of the microphone and recording, so I cannot get out from this. How did he get the job? You know, well, he's a nice guy. It's just, guys, you have to understand, it's not the lack of the knowledge in the QA, but these are an official documentation that we are going through. So, and this is the same problem that I was just talking to you. There is no structured environment, so they hired the guy. Maybe he's a first QA, you know, who knows? We don't know. Okay, I didn't ask him questions because I didn't want to, you know, kind of put more of his frustration. I just sent him the document so the guy could relax a little bit. So anyway, application installation update. Okay, what do we need to do in here? We need to check application installation from various methods and ensure application is installed properly through, take a notes, iTunes stores, Google Play, or third-party application store. Then the application update scenario that you have to check that the user is able to update application smoothly. Another thing to make a note of. For example, the user is installed an application at some time, okay, and he haven't used it for a long time. This is one of the scenarios that you guys have to put into your checklist. It's not here, I'm talking about it, okay? And while he was away, there was, let's just put this way. He installed the application at build 1, okay? While he was away, the build 4 is already there. So this user have to make sure that updating an application bypassing build 2 by 3, build 3, getting to build 4, okay? Or skipping the builds, downgrading the builds, and trying to upgrade, okay, from different builds. So it is kind of the process, the test cases that you can also include. Then we have the application sign up and log in, and you guys have to understand it's absolutely two different actions. It is important to check existing users that they're able to log in successfully and able to recover password in case of recovery. So if the password is entered incorrectly or whatever is it, it's always got to be the link, okay, to so the user can recover the password. Sign-ups only applicable for the new user, and process needs to be verified, so the application should make a seamless first impression on first-time users. So that front page sign up should be absolutely done to perfection, because this is where user is still deciding. You know, if it's sloppy, I wouldn't want to, you know, because I don't want to put my money at risk. Then with the subscription scenarios, guys. Okay. Well, first and most, by keyword from any browser, can you find your application if it's signed into the marketplace? This is the question that you have to ask yourself. So, App Store purchase. Very important that the user should not stack while purchasing the application. So in case of any problem and money debited from the user account, the matter should be immediately get escalated to support team for immediate refund. So make sure that the application is having the contact information, the technical support, all the links, the phone number, whatever it is, so the user can refund the money immediately. In-app purchase, and you as a testers need to ensure in-app purchase process is smooth. Also need to check license agreements that they should be legitimate and in accordance with planning. Then we have like a application sanity suite, and the functionality sanity suite is essential to ensure application major functionality is working as expected. So basically, if you have a cup and a saucer, okay, what is the main functionality of this? Tell me. Is it the cup or the saucer that is a main component in here? What is the main component when we have the set, the cup and a saucer? What is the main component? What is the main component for the cup and a saucer, guys? Okay. Somebody's typing, but I do not see anything. Tank? What is tank? The cup and a saucer, what is the main component? Cup. Slash, you're right. You were first. Okay. And what is the main functionality? Yes, absolutely, Iman. Yes. The main functionality is to hold the liquid, right? What is the variables? Give me the variables. So main functionality is cup. To hold liquid, right? Leaks, no, it's not. Water, okay. What is the variables? Variables for water. Hot, cold. Natalia, you're absolutely right. So, you see how we can distinguish the main component, the main functionality, okay, and the variables. So, same with the applications, guys, okay? And then, for example, if the cup is unable to hold the water, do we care about the saucer if it can hold the cup or not? We are not. We don't care. So, this is how I told you to divide everything into the component, and the main component should be tested first, okay? Then what do we have? Make sure that the application works in different mobile modes, like for example, in a silent mode or airplane mode. It's absolutely have to be user-friendly, and what I mean under that, your user should be able to easily understand how to use application, how to go through the complete workflows. Of course, network connectivity, so because in a different connectivity scenarios, testers need to check application for no crashes, no hangs, and it should not also affect other mobile apps. What you have to do in here, you have to test like a continuous connectivity, okay, switch network while moving, dead zone, low connectivity, and 2G, 3G, 4G. I'm pretty sure, you know, there's a simple tool that can simulate this environment. It doesn't need to be really complicated. So I forgot the name of it, and it was some time ago. I'm pretty sure right now on the market there are much more tools available as the mobile technology is moving up. Then, of course, data safe conditions, and as you know, there are many ways to save data in mobile. So you as a testers, you guys need to check all such cases so the application remains robust and reliable all the time. So make a note, it's when data saved on the mobile memory, application access them easily, like for example on the NAND drive or SD card. How your application behaves when the memory is full and how your application handles this. Is it giving you the opportunity to clean up a little bit, to remove some pictures, to back up some pictures, and clear up the memory which is necessary for the application to run gracefully, or it hangs without giving you any information? So what happens when, for example, when SD card removed, okay? And also when data saved on cloud, if your application can access this data easily. So, and what happens when you need, for example, the data recovery, when the connection is lost, or, there is some time SD card, it gets damaged, right? So how do we do the recovery? It is up to your application to provide such services to its user, because nobody else is going to do that for you. Then we have, of course, one of the biggest is the mobile interruptions, and we need to check application does not affect the mobile basic functions like phone calls, messages, media player, camera, lock, unlock screen scenarios. Very often, guys, you're overlooking, and I can see even with my students when we are going through this, they forget this lock and unlock screen interruption. And this is kind of one of the first interruptions that basically occur, okay? If you're not using your phone, your screen gets locked in a few seconds. So probably when you mention this interruption screens, you're going to look really, really cool if you start, logically listing all these interruptions that your phone might have. So also we have like a turning on and off GPS, and more and more and more, what your phone has. And of course, guys, start the application at the full charger, okay? Full charger. Do whatever you want to with this application. Check in 10 minutes, see the battery consumption, okay? For example, also you can do, like with the active screen, you can run an application when mobile screen is active and check how much battery application consumes. Also, another test that I recommend to do is to run application in the background and check battery consumption. Also check idle screen. You can run an application when mobile screen is idle and, for example, check battery consumption in that scenario. So it is so many scenarios. It's not only when you are working on the application, tapping something, just loading the data. Just try to leave it open and leave it alone and see. So you see, it's not only when you're doing something. All these test scenarios are essential. And also mobile memory utilization. So you need to check that the application does not utilize more memory, which may degrade application performance eventually, and also degrade an overall mobile performance. Then we have the mobile data utilization. You have to check and compare application data consumption with competitors' application. That's always good. So if application data consumption is more, and your competitors and their potential that the users can join your application and spend money on your application, they might go to the similar application and spend money in there. Screen scrolling and application screen. So it should be easily scrollable, and virtual keyboard should pop up wherever necessary and also disappear whenever necessary. Then we have like a localization, and localization include like a date format, postal code, and so you have to understand, guys, that some country postal code, they contains alphabetics too. Direction, need to test language direction, because some of the languages, as we know, were multi-language, they are left justified and right justified, and we have this option in developers options, right to left option, as we know, because we are professionals now. Also, the payable amount, like a tax calculation, may differ from country to country. Also, conversion, it's a currently conversion, needs to be taken care of. For example, you develop the application, right? And all of a sudden, there is a new OS release support, okay? And your application all of a sudden is not working. Why? Because the next operating system, they might use, like in Android, might use a different API level, right? So check it too. So, and of course, guys, you need to ensure that crashes are fixed. Crashes are the stop show, okay? As soon as the application crashes, you immediately report this to the developer, because this is a very, very bad case. So, and last but not least, you need to confirm correct implementation of AdMob or other mobile ad platforms, so it does not crash the application, because mobile advertising can crash your application. This is it for tonight, for session night. I will be posting your homework tomorrow afternoon, because I have class in the morning. Good night, everyone. It was a pleasure to be with you. Bye.